that energy is impacting the mind or the energy body of that other person. And many times we have this experience where maybe somebody we haven't thought about, we haven't been in contact for a long time, suddenly we think about them and the next moment they send us a message on WhatsApp or on Facebook. Suddenly they contact us. After a long time that we had no connection. But we suddenly thought about them and then there is that link. So actually whenever we think about someone, that thought is impacting that other person. And its thoughts are not limited by space, like regular sound vibration. You see, when I'm speaking, this sound vibration is only affecting those in the close proximity who hear. But if I think of someone, it could be in Israel, in New York, in India, immediately there is an effect. So actually, you can send messages to people without Wi-Fi, without any smartphone. If you can learn actually to even communicate. Swami Shivananda actually here in this book gives this as an exercise. You can try it. It's a wonderful exercise to do. You can plan with your friend to sit at the same time and tell the person to concentrate on you and try to develop that capacity to send thoughts. It's a skill that actually can be developed. But that's not the point. The main thing is to understand that every thought that we think will have an effect on that person that we're thinking of. So for example, if we're thinking positive thoughts, if we're sending prayers to someone, sending prayers is sending energy. We're actually helping to uplift that person, giving them more energy. It's more, for example, when you pay attention to someone, just by paying attention to someone, we're giving them energy. If we're paying attention, we're giving them our awareness, we're thinking of them. If we're saying a kind word to someone, we're giving them energy. But also on the mental level, we will be giving energy like that. If we're thinking a kind thought of someone, if we're thinking of them in a positive way, we're actually giving them more energy. Same time, if we're angry at someone, if we're constantly judging someone, if we're hating someone, we're actually sending negative energy towards them. Swami Shivananda says it's like angry thoughts is like sending psychic arrows to another person. We actually can be harming that person. So we know it's like when you say a negative word to someone, many times that can be very hurtful for someone just by saying those negative words. But even if we don't verbally say them, but we think them, that also can cause some harm to that other person. So this is a very important thing to understand, because this will help us to take more responsibility about our thoughts. Because we think, okay, I'm not cursing that person, I'm not hitting that person, I'm just very angry with them. And that's fine. It's okay, but we have to understand it does have implications. And of course, anger is not so easy to transform and to deal with, but at least we should be aware that it does have an effect, even though we might not be able to recognize the effect. It does have an effect. So this is the second type of effect. We are immediately impacting, and it doesn't matter where they are, the effect is instant. Then the last level of effect that every thought has, what do you think it would be? So first is our own body and mind. Second is the other person, a particular other person. And the third one would be the whole mental atmosphere. So the yogis explain that thoughts have different vibrations. Some thoughts are on a higher vibration, some thoughts on a lower vibration. But whenever we entertain a thought, then that thought joins together with other thoughts of a similar nature in the mental atmosphere to create like what we call a cloud of thought. And so they join together, and that creates a stronger sense of a mental atmosphere that is there. So positive thoughts join together with other positive thoughts. Negative thoughts join together with other negative thoughts, and that creates a whole mental atmosphere. So if we're thinking more positive thought, peaceful thoughts, we're helping to create more of a peaceful atmosphere. If we're thinking negative thoughts, angry thoughts, we are creating more of a general angry and a negative atmosphere. And we know sometimes you can go, a person may come into the room, like coming into the office, they're not saying anything, but we can feel that they're angry, or we can feel that they're agitated. It makes everybody feel a little bit uneasy. They're not saying anything, but we can feel their vibration, their thoughts, and it creates a whole atmosphere around them. Now, a very interesting study was done some years ago in Washington, D.C. I don't know how many people here have heard of the documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know? It was a very famous documentary some years ago showing the connection between science, especially quantum physics, and spirituality. But there they talk about this experiment, how they took a group of several hundred people, brought them into Washington, D.C. to pray and meditate every day for peace. And they were able to predict that bringing this large amount of people that will cultivate meditation on love and peace, how much it will reduce the crime rate in the city. And the experiment showed that. I don't know the exact amounts, but the idea was to show how by certain people coming and consciously putting more positive thoughts into the atmosphere will impact the minds of other people, meaning will make other people less likely to act in a violent way. Why? Because other people are sending more and more positive thoughts into the mental atmosphere. So this is such of a critical point, because we have to understand that when we think angry thoughts, not that just we are suffering as a result of it, but we are contributing for the tendency of other people also to get angry. If we are adding more thoughts of fear and anxiety into the mental atmosphere, we're making it more likely for other people also to get into that vibration. If we are consciously bringing more love and peace, we will also help other people to be influenced by that vibration, by that thoughts. So this is how important thoughts are. First of all, it totally affects us, but also our contribution to society and to the world at large is mostly done by our thinking. See, often Swami Shivananda explains that the great yogis who have very, very powerful minds, with very powerful thoughts, can contribute more to world peace than even the world leaders. Because if they are sending very powerful thoughts of peace and light into the world, they will impact the minds of so many people to think in that way. So this is where yoga teaches us the great responsibility of being conscious of our mind. The worst type of pollution that we can create is psychic pollution, mental pollution. This is the main thing, how we are impacting the world either in a positive way or a negative way. When we think negative thoughts, that is completely polluting the mental atmosphere. See, every action that we do is an outcome of thoughts. So more negative thoughts, more there is greed, more there is fear, that will lead to many negative actions afterwards, you see. We know that so many of the wars, so many of the problems in the world are as a result of greed and fear. And the more that those thoughts are being cultivated, the more all these problems on our planet are taking place. So really the transformation from war to peace and all the different issues is really first has to take place on the mental plane. So we all have the capacity to contribute to a more peaceful and positive world by first developing more peaceful and positive thoughts. So this is the triple effect that every thought will have. Now, this we can erase. Another few pointers about the theory in relation to